Math. It's something that petrifies individuals. There are people with actual phobias of mathematics. But is math that difficult? And why do people struggle with it so much? Hello everybody. Welcome to yet another episode of the Game Changers podcast. My name is Quinn Sejius and it's a privilege and pleasure to be here with you as usual. My next guest is Kerwin Springer. He's a famous math tutor, at least in the Caribbean, and he sits and speaks with me on why this phenomenon is so difficult and gives methods as to how to teach, but also how to learn mathematics better. I can't wait for you to hear his story and also listen to his amazing insight. Hey Kerwin, how you doing, man?
I'm doing fine.
Thank you so much for being here. I know you are a very busy man.
Yeah, my pleasure.
You being here is amazing to me. I must ask you before I get into anything, what part of the world are you in right now? Because I know you travel. So.
I'm in Trinidad. I'm home actually. I'm in my home office.
Okay, you're home. Beautiful. All right, so let's start by introductions. Tell my audience, who is Kerwin Springer from your own perspective?
All right, so my name is Kerwin Springer. So most people know me as a maths teacher, a maths tutor. Most people who recognize me on the street recognize me as the maths teacher from YouTube. And the first thing out of their mouth is, "Sir," and they grab my hand and they're shaking my hand furiously. "Sir, I just want to thank you for helping me pass. I just want to thank you for helping me pass maths." So that's what most people know me as, the teacher who, when they were 1 week before the exam, they typed in on YouTube, "Help me pass CSEC maths," and my face showed up and I guide them through that. I say I have a trauma. I have a trauma bond with a lot of these students in the Caribbean. So most people know me as that. But however, I studied mechanical engineering. I did engineering for a tiny little bit. I also have background in audio editing. I'm a youth leader, youth counselor, and I own an online teaching service called the Student Hub, and we facilitate students throughout the entire Caribbean, and we have teachers in various subject areas in secondary and primary level. Yeah.
So I'm interested as to how you even got into teaching to begin with.
Right.
And why maths?
Why maths? So I think it's one of my natural gifts. Like, you know how Messi is talented as a footballer, he has a natural gift there. I guess you have a podcast, so you have a natural gift of gab. Maybe you used to get plenty. He talks a lot in class. I felt like I have a natural gift of explaining and breaking down tough concepts to students. In maths, when you achieve the aha moment and you're like, "Oh my gosh, I finally understand how to solve quadratic equations. I finally understand how to factorize this." You mean to say this is how you solve a linear equation? Yeah, I really love to see that happen in a student, and I know I have a natural gift to help students there. So because of that, when I was in secondary school, I began teaching. I taught my first student CSEC maths before I wrote CSEC maths. So wow. Yeah, so and that was a paid job. So when I was in university, going through these struggle years, and my parents giving me limited money to go to school, I didn't come from extreme background. I come from a humble background, and tutoring helped, buy the additional cricks and thing to keep you alive in university. So, and from that, I studied mechanical engineering, as I said, but I studied mechanical engineering because I love the physics aspect of it. But strange enough, I'm not too interested in the industrial field, and I wasn't too interested in the maths for engineering maths. So I kind of sidelined that and focused on my teaching. And back then I used to teach a lot of things. I used to teach maths, chemistry, physics, biology, music, guitar, keyboard, drums, everything. And so that grew, and I was always developing a name for myself in the private tuition category. And I did a hint of engineering, and my mother said, "The government is accepting teachers. Why don't you apply there?" And I applied and I became a teacher, and I shifted over into the teaching realm, into the teaching niche. And after about 7, 8 years in public service, I resigned because I wanted to pursue my private practice. And the same persons would be like, Kerwin, are you sure? There's a nice government job teaching and everything. And I went into full scale online teaching.
Okay, now that is very interesting to me. What inspired that shift, though?
Right. So I felt like I wasn't using my talent. So it
Okay,
happened in the footnote of 2017. 2017 was just coming to an end, and we suffered a devastating loss in my family. My father-in-law died in a kind of unexpected accident, and I don't know.
got you.
I always say like I felt like I got an existential crisis there. I felt like something, clicked in me there, and I realized the fragility of life and how quickly things could go. And I felt like I wasn't using my talents and all the different gifts that the Lord has blessed me with to my full potential. So in January, I started my YouTube channel. And I took so long with that first video to make sure it was perfect. It's still up. And it just grew from there. Within the first like 3, 4 months, we grew throughout the Caribbean, and we grew from every YouTube channel starts with one subscriber. Right now we're on 140,000, and I'm not posting that often because we're off of exam season. But that's January of 2018. January of 2018 is when I started the YouTube channel. So, I think that was the pivotal thing that pushed me into starting like that online tuition.
Got you. So that fragility of life, like you said, you know, the need to do more and the need to really showcase your talent and your purpose, I should say, to the world was really the driving factor.
Yeah, so I felt like I had more to give, and I always say for my personality, I would be like I do not suffer with anything like anxiety. Anxiety is a strange idea to me, and I have to like learn what people mean when they say they have anxiety and that kind of thing. But I guess that I would be an anxious person, or I would be very depressed and unfulfilled if I am not pushing against an adventure or a struggle. So it's a little ADHD, what they might describe as that, but I always have to be at something, and this was like the excellent avenue for me because a lot of different subsets intersected here. It was something that I love, something that I'm good at, something that can make money. So I was right in the intersection of all of these things, and it just made perfect sense at the moment.
Beautiful. Now I'm going to ask you one of the core questions here. Why do students struggle with math?
So maths. I always say maths needs to be studied like as a struggle, because it also gives a little insight into life. And maths is one of those subjects that attacks a student's sense of self-worth. Even you're doing bad in maths, and you know that maths is the number one subject where a teacher is walking by and the student will hide their work from the teacher who is supposed to be helping them. So you just do not want to
Right.
be it feels like you're doing bad in maths. Are you dumb? Do you have a low IQ? So and that's always the thought in the back of their mind. So you're struggling with that, as well as the method in which it is taught has a lot to do with this, as well as the environment. Many people, so different people have different advantages. I have the advantage of being a naturally very curious person. Curiosity really helps in maths, as well as my father taught me long division when I was like 4 or 5 years old. So I was one of the students who came first in primary school all the time. I was that guy. So some people have that kind of environment, whereas some people have an environment where they weren't introduced to maths until a very late stage. They get kept back in numeracy. They may not have had touch tools to play with, like blocks and stuff like that. So spatial visualization is bad for them. Their environment is one that is defeatist. So all of that combines to making maths a huge challenge for some students. Some people get it really naturally, and some people get it tough. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Got you. Got you. So I'm guessing that different dynamics play
Yes,
different roles
definitely.
in why
Different
people
different
struggle with
things
math.
play different roles in why people are bad in maths.
Absolutely. So then you spoke about your natural ability then to help students. Was there any particular success story that you can think of that really inspired you to continue teaching?
One of the first students I taught was my cousin. His name is Richard. He's a member of the police force now, and he always tells me I need to take his picture and hang it up big on the student hub. And here's why: because he was one of the students I taught that before I wrote CSEC maths, and this was back in the time where the section 2 had different choices. Anyhow, so he came to me. Was it the day before, the week before the exam? And I saw that he was brilliant. He was smart. He was just woefully unprepared. So we sat down and we took all the past papers, and I saw what he was good at. And one of the things that I do is I help people to achieve passing the exam. So sometimes I'm not unable to teach you maths on the whole, but I'm able to let you get a 3 or a 2 in CSEC maths, and you're able to go on to become a nurse, a fireman, a police woman, whatever. So we sat down and I picked out all the questions. I told him, study this, leave out that, study this, study this. We sat down, we go through all the sample questions, and he got a 2. He literally went from 0 to hero in maths. And I mean, I had lots of
Wow.
stories similar to that coming right up. That was probably in 2004. 2000. Before we started, we was talking about how this podcast is geared to 15 to 35-year-olds. I missed the cut. I'm 36 right now. So anyhow, yeah, so that's like that's where I really saw like the proof of like I can really help a lot of people with this maths thing.
Beautiful. So I'm seeing that, you helped your own family member, and then other people almost became like your family
Yes.
members because, I mean, I know you create that family type of atmosphere with your students.
Right.
They feel like they can relate
Right.
to you, reach out to you.
Yeah, so with maths, you want to talk in terms of the culture. So one of the things that really helps and help my channel to grow is that I'm heavily in tune with the youth culture. So as you said, a lot of people like you coming from Jamaica.
From St. Lucia, St. Lucia.
From St. Lucia, right? So when I pop into St. Lucia, a lot of people greet me like they know me like family, like
Right.
because as I said, there's the trauma bond. I help them through a really tough, dark period in their life, and being able to connect with students on their level, with their jargon, with their culture, really helps to break down an initial barrier in explaining tough topics in maths.
Beautiful. Yes, yes. So I'm seeing that connection plays a big role. And I've seen it in my own life as well. Besides the fact that both of my parents are teachers, so both my mother and father were teachers. So I was really connected in that teaching culture, even if I didn't become a teacher myself. But it has been around me, and I see that the better you can connect with students on a personal level, the easier it is to teach them. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. So what 100%. I was doing a speech to some members of the police force last year or earlier this year. And I was saying so one of the most hated jobs is being a police. The next one is politicians. And do you know right up on that survey is maths teacher?
Wow.
People hate maths teacher. So when any adult can probably pinpoint at least one maths teacher they do not like.
That's
That
correct.
maths teacher is critical, and that's bad. That's bad. I'm hoping that everyone can. One of the things I told my students, I was teaching in some really tough schools. I told them, okay, from the look of it, and you're not ready because you're not coming to class on time. You're not doing your homework. You're not at the stage in your life where you're ready to pass maths. But at least you will know me as somebody who give you some good advice in life. And who knows, you might talk back in the future. And you know some of those very same students I told that same thing to year after year came back after they failed CXC, they came back and they joined the student hub and passed. So
Wow.
when they realize, okay, I really need maths and they're ready to do maths now, they know, well, Mr. Springer was always nice to me, although I used to get trouble and thing. You can't say I hate this maths teacher.
Right.
He was strict, but he was good with me. And I think that's a really important part of being a teacher.
Beautiful. For sure. I agree with that 100%. Okay, bro. So I'm moving on to a segment that I really like. It's called the quick hitters on Game Changers. So basically, these are rapid fire questions. So answer them as quickly as you can, and then we'll move on to the back end of the interview.
So my assistant sent me some stuff to prepare, but I didn't get a chance to look at it. So you're really gonna catch me
Well,
here.
that's
So let me
good.
see what's happening.
That's good. That's good. We like it as raw as possible. All right.
Nice.
So first question. Give me 3 quick exam hacks.
3 quick exam hacks.
Correct.
So one, if you're doing CSEC maths, go on YouTube right now, type Kerwin Springer and subscribe to that channel.
Very right.
Honestly, that's one. Number two is writing. So a lot of people try to read off maths. Let's use maths as the thing, right? They try to read maths, meaning one of the first job I was hired for in the Ministry of Education in Trinidad was to teach remedial students, and that's students who really struggle at maths, fail 2-3 times. And one of the things that was a chorus that kept echoing was that when I spoke to them, they say, "So I real study for that exam. I real prepare." And I say, all right, it sounds like a real show me how much you real prepare. I'm like, show me. I like, yeah, show me the notes, show me the work you do. So they kind of confused with that. I come home by them, show me the notes, show me. They bring out their book. It's just about 4, 5, 6 pages. I like, this is ridiculous. You didn't really prepare. You sit down with your book. You had your parents think you're studying for long, long, long. You spend 2 hours watching the book and trying to learn maths by osmosis or diffusion. so so with maths, you have to do a lot of questions. There's a lot of actual practicing going on. And one of the reasons some people are good in maths is because they naturally understood how to learn maths and they naturally realize that, I have to keep testing things in my mind and testing things on paper. So that's a massive hack to doing well in maths. If you can tell me that you have done the last 10 past papers by yourself and you know how to do it by yourself, there's no reason why you wouldn't pass maths. Can you imagine that? So how can you say you're going to pass maths and you haven't even done a full entire past paper by yourself? So that goes into hack number 3, which is past papers. So CXC's exams are predictable in some ways. They are the paper 2, which is predictable in structure. And there's the paper 1, which is actually predictable in questions. You have actual questions that repeat. So by doing a lot of past papers, you are positioning yourself in a really strong way for passing CSEC maths. Subscribe, write, past papers.
Absolutely. I like that.
Yes, sir.
My next rapid fire question. What music do you like to listen to?
Well, I play the keyboard. I just came from playing the keyboard in church. So I really love uh gospel grooves, gospel jams. I grew up on that. I grew up on old school Caribbean style gospel, where
Got
the
you.
guitar going that kind of stuff. Calypso style stuff, hand drum. And then of course I think I like a lot of different genres. So I like soca, I like reggae, I like R&B. I am even starting to grow fond of country music, which I thought I always hated. I finally understand it now. Like I understand, I don't know if it's the 36 starting to act up on me, but
The age.
yeah. So that's a kind of hard question to pinpoint one like specific genre. I'm a lover of music. I really love music. I spent a lot of time in audio production for the young part of my life.
Beautiful. I'm just curious though. Does math help with music in any way?
Yeah, yeah. So one of the things that we do is we call numbers for chords. So like our producer in the background is saying three chords and the truth. So those three chords are usually the 1, the 4, and the 5. And we might throw in the 6 to make it good. 1, 5, 6, 4. And so you call a lot of numbers in music. Chord structures are based off of numbers and patterns. Maths is basically pattern recognition. So one of the things I try to tell students who, remedial and start, have a lot of self-doubt. If I say triangle, triangle, square, triangle, triangle, square, triangle, triangle, square is coming next because that's the pattern. And maths is just taking patterns, identifying patterns in nature. People always say, I am going to get this guy who created maths. God created maths. We just created the language around maths. And we just need to understand the patterns. And I think music is almost like an unwritten language. They say music is the language of love, but it's almost like an unwritten language of the universe. It's a pattern that we are unraveling, and there's maths in that.
Beautiful, beautiful. Final quick hitter question. Who would you like to see on this podcast?
All right. So being that I don't have much experience with the podcast, I would say, can you just you said it's directed towards 15 to 35.
Yeah.
What topics you'll generally hit at?
So careers. Really? Yeah. So careers, it's really edutainment. So education and entertainment.
Right. So the same way how for the student, how I try to solve the problem, like what I would want when I was doing exams. So the books that I write, the lessons that I teach, the help that I give is advice and resources and help that I would want that would help me pass the exam. I think a podcast that's focusing on edutainment, helping people in terms of career, business. I'm guessing all of those avenues, you would probably need to be targeting some of the best entrepreneurs,
right,
in the region, in St. Lucia and the wider region, the Caribbean. So that so young people like myself, if I was 15 years old, I tune into your podcast and I can get some advice on that. So specific persons, yeah, you can probably get some of the influencers
for sure
on the influencers that have a business. So like Jamel Samson or Kyle, influencers that have a business. They would have some really good advice, practical advice for young persons.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Yes. And I would love to have Jamel on here. Jamel is actually one of my goals to actually get on here. So hopefully he'll come, man. Hopefully you can.
Oh, okay. Yeah, man. So maybe afterwards I can see.
All right.
we did a lot of work together in the earlys.
Okay, well, beautiful.
That's my fellow YouTuber, Bridget.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right. So we're moving on to the back end of the interview. What are some of the challenges that you face when creating content, in particularly on YouTube?
Challenges in facing content and challenges. I mean, there's lots of challenges. In the beginning, I had the challenge of a slow system, a not too good computer, not too good camera, noisy background. I had kids. Right now, my son is right next to me here, waiting for me to open a bottle of water. Let me open it for you. So these things would be like challenges. These things would be like challenges, unseen challenges that you have to overcome. And the other stuff would be like so those are like physical environmental challenges. I think there's the mental challenge of spending time doing your homework to understand your niche, understand your market, build your community. So it's very important when you're doing online to have a community that you're targeting instead of just shooting at the wide audience. And sometimes if you do the wide audience approach, you can become a little disenfranchised if you feel, or disenchanted, I want to say, if you feel like you You're not hitting it yet. You're not seeing the numbers coming in as they're supposed to. But the thing is, once you are building an online community, you're able to pinpoint problems and you can solve that problem for one person and then expand on that. So, I'm starting to give advice on the challenge one time, but those would be like, those would be like challenges. Those would be like challenges that, yeah, that you could encounter online.
Got you. Got you. We're not vexed that you're giving advice with the challenges. I mean, that's really what the podcast is about. So identifying the challenges and giving
Yeah,
the
man.
advice.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. So okay, so we know that the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic to be specific, moved learning online a lot. Do you think that it has helped or hindered math development in the region?
That's a really good question. Like a year or two ago, I would definitely say has helped.
Mhm.
But right now, you see, there is a good approach to online education and then there's a bad approach. So, um, I was talking to a couple of my history teachers, and one of the history teachers in the student hub was pointing out that, sorry, not history, social studies, was pointing out that she has a huge problem right now. And do you know that social studies was one of the easiest subjects? It is now one of the toughest subjects in CXC.
Makes sense.
And students are really struggling to make essays, essay written questions, and combine sentences together to explain their points to receive the marks. And you know what she was telling me was one of the problems? She's telling me, Kerwin, I am correcting Chat GPT.
Wow.
All of my homework, I'm correcting is Chat GPT. I'm correct. These students, I know this child can't write like this, and I'm getting university style answers. I put the answer in online and I'm seeing it's AI. So when it's time to go into the exam room without Chat GPT at your side, the students struggle. So there are pros and cons of online. And in the beginning, when I started YouTube, the online really, 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 really helped a lot of students, as I said. But there is also learning is learning is intrinsic to the person. The person must learn. The person can't go and expect Chat GPT to learn for them. Chat GPT could give you the answer. The online teacher could give you the answer. The online teacher could give you the tip, the trick. But the actual learning is on the person. So there's that issue with online. It doesn't affect maths as much, but it really affects subjects like heavy theoretical subjects, theory based essay writing style topics. So, yeah.
Absolutely. All right. So then, in this new age, what advice would you then have for educators like yourself?
Yeah. So, as an educator, you always have to be educating yourself. You have to be a lifelong learner, as they say. And that is very important. And the internet is something that can really catapult your learning as a teacher and catapult what you have to give towards the students. So I would advise all teachers, maybe you're not called to be an online teacher like Kerwin Springer, but you would have to learn the tools, the different tools. Chat GPT, you understand it, so you can identify it if you see it coming back at you in your homework. Make sure you know how to craft your questions to fit this new 2024. So yeah, so I would say for teachers, it's important to remain educated. I mean, it's something that most teachers will hear a lot, but it does take some energy to get off your seat and go on a computer and start to learn stuff, right? It does take some energy. Especially like if you're from the old school and you're not really keen on these young people thing, and I know my thing, I teach without the textbook and I have all my assignments print out there for years now. I given the same assignments, I have all my thing. Everything done ready from since 2000, the year 2000, since the year 1995. I teaching before you born, whatever. Nah, that is not an approach that you would be left in the dust in terms of teaching. So I would advise teachers who fall into that category to, remain passionate about learning and intrigued about learning new things, new methods. Students love to see teachers learning. So sometimes the student has something to share, like, so do you know that this happened and that? Even at a young age, I teach some young students, like 6 years old. And when they share something and they realize they taught you something, they are more receptive to be taught by you. They
Absolutely.
teach you some block in Minecraft or some kind of thing, and wow, and you bring it back up the next lesson, and you make a lesson out of it. Oh my gosh.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So again, it's important that teachers also learn just like their student.
Yes, sir.
All right, bro. So we're coming on to the end. What advice would you have to a young person who is afraid of math, who is terrified of it, but
Yeah.
wants to master it? What advice would you have
Yeah.
for them?
Well, it's starting in a good place if you want to master it, right? So you're aiming for, because I don't think I've mastered maths. I've mastered C-Sec maths, but mastered maths, no. Um, so it's starting from a good place if your ambition is to master maths. But if you're terrified of maths, remember maths is just numbers. You can't be afraid of 1, 2, 3, 4.
Right.
So it's just numbers, and it's just a challenge. And once you can learn 1 + 1 is 2, you can continually learn new things in mathematics. And CSEC maths, SE, CPEA, PEP, whatever it is you do in NGSA, what's the common entrance in St. Lucia?
Well, it's CPEA now.
CPEA, yeah, whatever you're doing, whatever exam that you have up on your challenge, it can be conquered once you start learning, and you're seeing improvement. I say once you're improving, you're winning, because it's going to come
Absolutely.
to a spot where you reach past the pass mark, or pass whatever grade you want to get. Just need to keep practicing, and you'll get through. Don't give up.
Beautiful. Bro, and to thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, man.
I was inspired by your story, and I was inspired by your approach to teaching as well.
Yes, sir. So it was really nice being here as well. Next time I'm in St. Lucia, we'll bounce up.
For sure. For sure. Let's make it happen. So, guys, this has been yet another episode of the Game Changers podcast. And to thank you for coming on to listen to this amazing episode, remember to like and subscribe. There are so many more amazing guests coming your way. I can't wait to introduce you to some of them. Also, remember to download the episodes. Game Changers is available wherever you get your podcasts, be it Apple Podcasts or Spotify or even YouTube. But download the episodes on the audio streaming apps so that you can listen on the go. I know that you guys are very, very busy, and that's fine with me. But I know that you can really benefit from this amazing content. So download it and listen on the go. Anyhow, as usual, stay hungry, and I'll see you next time.